I decided I just wanted something a little bit more local and to help out locally. So I was in kind of a search to leave my position in the corporate world, but I didn't do it yet. I wanted to make sure whenever I started, I had funds to fund this new career. And I took a workshop with Desiree Valero. Is anybody, you probably all know her, right? Years ago, this is, I don't know, probably 7, 8 years ago or something. And I think this is fantastic. I've got to learn more. So I started doing online education, just little workshops here and there. Before you know it, I was enrolled in school. And I went to the School of Natural Healing, which is Dr. John Christopher's school. I don't know if you're familiar, out in Utah, and did online courses and became a nutritional herbalist. And then I decided to do a 3-year program as a master herbalist, which I've got about 6 more months left of that, and I'll be finished. In the meantime, I'm a member of the American Herbalist Guild, so I go to their symposiums every year. That is a group of I look up to them very much, herbalists that are in all different spectrums. So it's not just Western herbs, which is what I've chosen, but many of them are studied in Chinese medicine, Western herbalism, and Ayurvedic medicine. So that's a really good forum for me to go. It is the largest organization of herbalists in the United States. So that's the American Herbalist Guild. I'm also a member of the United Plant Savers, which is a great organization that really helps to get the word out about endangered plants, teaching good wild crafting practices. When you're out harvesting wild, you do not harvest near the road, near commercial areas, near commercial farms. You know, obviously you get why. But United Plant Savers was founded by Rosemary Gladstar, which her book is up here. So later you can flip through. Has anyone heard of Rosemary Gladstar? A wonderful herbalist up in the north that is known for, 40-some years, right? I mean, 40 years probably about now as an herbalist. So she's really teaching many. And here I am now, so right in front of you. And today we're really going to focus on the medicinal uses of 10 herbs. I am not the grower. I do want to let you know with the herbal cabinet, my practice is that I meet with people for consultations or I also have product. So some people just arrange to come take a look at the product I have. I sell on stpeaklocallygrown.net. I have a website, theherbalcabinet.com, that people can put product in the shopping cart and check out. You could check out as a local, and we arrange a pickup time because I work out of my home. So I do not have a storefront. My purpose, I do not want to have a storefront because then all of a sudden overhead costs are going to go up, and I'd rather just be here as kind of like the village herbalist. And be able to meet with those of you who want consultation or just want product. So that's what I do. I do want to, my goal is when I finish my master herbalist, I really want to do bio-regional herbalism, really get to know our plants in our backyard more and start to transition their herbal cabinet products to more local herbs. But right now the way I've learned is herbs from all over. So Bill and I consulted on which herbs, and I wanted to make sure they were herbs that could grow very, very well right here in our zone. So that's confirmed from Bill, because again, I'm not the grower expert, so I refrain all questions to Bill or any one of you who probably know a lot more. These are so versatile, so we'll start to learn why. Let's start with basil. The part used is the leaf and the flowering top. So those are the parts that you can use medicinally. Basil is great for digestive and nervous system. So our nervous system is connected to many, many ailments actually. So what a good herb to feed our nervous system and keep it well. Or if there's a difficulty with it, obviously we want to put more basil in our diet. Easing gas and stomach cramping. Obviously with our standard American diet that we have and the way it's known right now, there's quite a bit of carbs, maybe gluten, a lot of gluten in there. So you might be having regularly some discomfort. Eat more basil along with potentially you might want to look at, are you gluten intolerant or gluten sensitive? A lot of people have many symptoms and don't realize by cutting out gluten, all of a sudden they're well. So it's something to consider. preventing or relieving nausea, helpful in treating irritability and fatigue, depression, anxiety, insomnia. That's a big chunk, isn't that up there? That's a lot of stuff. But just basil, the beautiful basil that we can grow so well. It's amazing. Antibacterial properties, so that's a medicinal action that it has. A lot of people use a poultice. Okay, with a poultice, you can traditionally, American Indian and all over the world, you would just chew it up. You would chew the leaf up, and you would actually put it on the area that you have the problem. So if you're having gas, you would chew some basil up and slather it right here, spit and all. But you can just grind it up too. You can just use a mortar and pestle, grind it up. You may need to put a little bit of liquid to it, maybe a little aloe vera or something like that we have growing, another great plant that we have in our backyard. And just use that as a poultice. But poultice is really taking the herb, mashing it up in some way, and then placing it on the area to affect change there. So that's a poultice.
How do you normally hold it?
Good question. So if you're lying down, obviously that's easy, but many people, they'll just put some kind of gauze, cheesecloth around there, maybe some muslin, something to hold that on there. Now if you're using, sometimes we want to use poultices and use alternating heat and cold method of healing, so that can kind of speed up, and you would do like 20 minutes of moist heat and then maybe just 5 minutes of cold. If you did something like that, I actually recommend a little saran wrap, plastic wrap around that to hold that in, because if you're using a heating pad, you don't want that to get wet. So something an alternate that you can use. And then insect bites. So you're in your gardening, and all of a sudden you get bit, just reach over for your basil, chew it up, spit it there. There you go. You're going to relieve the itch right away. Often we have things right at our fingertips in our yard that we can reach for if we get, an insect bite. You can eat it internally, and you can also place it here. Never underestimate the power of actually putting something topically on. Yep. So eating, we all automatically think of these herbs as eating. So I'm going to give you a couple of other ideas too, because I think that's initially what you always think of, is just ingesting it, which absolutely is great for all of the ones I'm talking about today. But there's some other little things you can do too. So we've got, how many people freeze them in, when you're harvesting your basil, you freeze it in ice cube trays? That is what I found is the best. It does not dry well. In my experience, you try the dehydrator, it just doesn't maintain. So what I do is you just mash it up, you it's messy, it's a messy process. So you chop it up real fine, put it in the ice cube trays, put a little water in it, and then freeze it, and then you could just use a cube at a time. It's beautiful. It comes out so fresh, and it maintains all of the volatile oil. Very, very fresh. And when they're done there, you don't have to leave them in the trays. You can pop them out, put them in a little Ziploc bag in your freezer. So I love that. Basil tea for headache and stress. So you would take, when you look at parts, obviously that's whatever you want it to be. It could be 1 tablespoon of basil, 1 tablespoon, but obviously equal parts. So 1 part of basil, 1 part lemon balm, which we're going to get to, and then a 1/4 part chamomile or lavender. And you combine the herbs, and you have that there. And then typically the way I make a tea or infusion is I take a heaping teaspoon of that herb, and I put it in 8 ounces of boiling water and let it steep. You don't boil it with the water, you pour the boiling water over the herb, okay? If you have roots or bark, then you would simmer it, because you need to, that's called a decoction. So anything fresh, which is really what we're talking about today, we're really just talking about teas, or infusion is the word you hear often too, and that's pouring, you boil that water separately or bring it just about to a boil, and you pour it over the herb and then let it steep. Cayenne is a wonderful herb for circulation, and just, it really, many herbalists have said, especially Dr. John Christopher and some of them that were in the mid-1900s, cayenne every day is a very good thing. It's like an apple a day, having a little bit of cayenne a day. In my opinion, very true. You would use only the fruit. That's the edible part. You would use fruit and that, just the fruit. Medicinal action, it is a stimulant. It's very good for the heart. Very good. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of people that say to stop a heart attack, you just put some cayenne extract in some water and drink it down immediately. Now, you would want a pretty heavy dose of it, but that could stop the heart attack enough to get you to the hospital. So that is, cayenne's pretty effective for any circulatory, cardiovascular. Digestive aid as well. And you wouldn't think that. Sometimes you think peppers, they're irritating. Cayenne pepper is so good for your digestive system. And if it's good for the digestive system, that means also it's good for your immune system. Because your immune system, if your gut is not good, your immune system's not good. That's what you've got to fix first. If you have a bad or poor, if you find yourself getting sick a lot this year, work on your gut. Your gut healing. Signals brain to release endorphins. So that's the feel-good hormones. So that's really great. That's the neurotransmitter. Topical relief for arthritis and bursitis. So I actually make a cayenne salve. I brought some of my salves with me, but that's a very big seller for me. For many people with any kind of arthritis, joint pain. So it's cayenne and beeswax and some extra virgin olive oil. It's nice. There's not all this other stuff in it. So just making something with cayenne is really nice. So also notice it assists in lowering cholesterol. So again, you think pepper as an irritant, and why would that work? But because it is a circulatory stimulant. For drying cayenne, and this goes with some other things. So this is just, I wanted to give you a recipe for that with the cayenne, but it can apply to many other herbs because here in Florida, we have a problem drying, right? It has to be in an air-conditioned house if you're going to lay it on trays. We can't do it outside. There's pretty much no time that we can do that. It will get moldy, and then all that work is for naught, you know. So definitely do it the right way. Bring it inside. You can do the oven drying method, just like this. Or if you've got dehydrator, you can use the dehydrator trays. That works beautifully on many herbs as well. I wouldn't recommend on the basil. We talked about the basil. Sizzling foot warmer for poor circulation. So think about diabetics. Try sprinkling a small amount of cayenne, no more than 1/8 of a teaspoon, in your shoes, not in the socks, in the shoes. Okay. I want to make circulation. We don't want it right in contact with the skin unless it's a salve, to break that down. If it's too hot or irritating, then you can put some dried ginger in there too. Up north, our friends up north, I would say put that in to prevent frostbite. Put it in the shoes. But that's just like a very simple way. You could also, if any of you do foot baths are wonderful for all sorts of, healing. You can put all sorts of herbs in depending on what you're doing, but you could have a foot bath and put just a little bit of cayenne in there. Little goes a long way. Fennel. Actually, in the herbal cabinet, I have my products. I carry some of Dr. Christopher's formulas as well, whether it's herbal capsules or tinctures, things like that. But I also have doTERRA essential oils. I like to use essential oils for some people, just depending on what their compliance is. When I meet with them, I kind of know whether they're going to take a yucky tincture or whether they want something else, right? Because there's some people are just like, they're not. Those herbal tinctures are pretty harsh. So I also do some essential oils. So fennel, you would use the seed. It's always the seed. It's very highly known for digestion, and it's so mild for babies too. So you can have a nice cup of tea and give them a tablespoon of, a baby a tablespoon of fennel tea. So Bill brought up that in Indian restaurants, fennel is used a lot for digestion. Absolutely. So thousands of years they're using fennel. It's a very accessible herb. We can get this. We can grow it. Great for nausea, stomachache. Notice we're still in that digestive area here. Relieves pains and spasms, colic, diarrhea, babies, young children, IBS, any kind of the cramping that might be going on. This would be something good to have regularly, and it's mild. You can keep having this. You're not going to get addicted to fennel, So seriously, but you might get addicted to Prilosec or whatever. Increases lactation, so that is really great. So for new moms, and you want to get the milk flow going, you definitely want to have a really nice mild thing. So I like that a lot. Eases symptoms of bronchitis. How many people are having a bad cough and bronchitis right now, right? The last couple months, and it's hard to get rid of. So fennel, you wouldn't think about it, right? You think digestion only. Essential oil eases muscular and rheumatic pain. So that essential oil is typically it's about 50 to 70 times more potent, powerful than the actual herb. So if you really want to work on anything like that, you're going to use an essential oil carefully and make sure you would talk to me or someone who knows about essential oils, because that's a whole different realm, and you want to be instructed on what to dilute, what not to dilute. Fennel tea. So here we go. This is with anything with a seed. Okay, so we'll just talk about fennel right now. You would actually simmer it in 8 ounces of water for 5 minutes. It does need that extra cooking in that water to really get the medicinal power out of it. You know, just let it sit in water, it's just not going to work. You need it releasing. So then remove it from the heat and let it steep for another 20 minutes, and then strain and drink. Now notice it says best to drink 1 cup before meals. Sometimes you're not sure what you're eating, or so it's hard to plan that. But if you typically have digestive issues, this is something good to do. I make up tea in large quantities and just drink it all day long. So if you like herbal teas, then just make up a bunch. Decide today I'm going to have basil tea. Make a quart of it up. Today I'm going to have some fennel tea. Or if you're working on digestion, you might want to make up a couple quarts at a time. Keep it in the fridge, and you can either have it iced or warm. How many people have heard garlic is like the best antibiotic? Yeah. Okay. We don't even need to spend time much on this, but I love garlic, and I know when you drink a lot of it, you smell like garlic, but so what? I'm in the camp of it all is good. We all smell like garlic, and we're keeping all of the pathogens away. And the vampires. Yes. So I love garlic. Use the bulb, obviously. Treatment of cold and flu and sore throats. The herbal cabinet, I make a garlic lemonade. It's wonderful. Sluggish digestion, it is a stimulant, so it will keep things moving. Stimulates production of the white blood cells, which boosts the body's immune system. So now we're talking about gut health and immune system. The sulfur compounds and essential oils make it a potent internal and external antiseptic, antibacterial and antimicrobial agent to treat infections. So viruses, you go to the doctor and they send you home because, nothing I can do for you because it's a virus. We'll get home and start eating some garlic. We're making garlic tea or garlic lemonade. Get that garlic in you. I like to make sure you don't cook it too much though, because if you cook it at high heat, anything cooked at high heat, you pretty much start losing some of the good enzymes and good nutritional and medicinal action of that. So just be careful not to cook it too much. 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, and you just kind of chop it up or mince it up. You pour a quart of boiling water over it, and you let that steep for 30 minutes. You strain that out, strain the garlic out, and then I add the juice of 1 lemon and honey to taste. I always use raw local honey. And honestly, what I do for colds or something coming on is you drink a quart of that every day. 1 quart every day. And it's very safe for children. You would have a back off of that though. Like for 3-year-old to 8-year-old, you're pretty much just talking about maybe 2 cups of it for the full day. And then infants, I wouldn't do this mixture because of the raw honey until after they're 2 years old. So you wouldn't give it to this for infants. There's much milder things to give to infants, like raspberry tea. Studies show it lowers blood sugar levels in type 2 diabetes, and then also blood cholesterol levels. So it treats intestinal worms as well. So when I came back, I was in Guatemala for an expedition a few weeks ago. It was wonderful. I came back and I was okay. Many people on the trip did get some digestive issues, but you never know, right? So I came home and I just drank 3 days worth of garlic lemonade just to make sure. You don't know what's possibly happening in there. So this is another thing that you could make instead of that garlic lemonade recipe I gave you. This is also hugely popular. If you look at the ingredients, you see why. You get this down and it's going to kill some things, right? But also hugely beneficial to your system. I mean, onions are so good for you. And then, of course, you have the garlic. Ginger root is a herbal stimulant. Really good to keep everything going correctly, all your systems, digestion system, circulation. The horseradish root, I mean, apple cider vinegar. This is a powerhouse right here. So this is really good recipe. I would definitely jot this down. Now, when I was at the Florida Herb Conference, it was Juliet that said that she used some kind of berry in hers. Juniper berries? Okay. So you can always play around with some berries, and even I make elderberry syrup. I love it. So try to make it a little nicer tasting. You can do that. I usually stay away from the pickling. A lot of those salts are really the good salts, but if you're making it yourself with the good organic salts, I would think it's okay in small doses. Still, that's high content of salt. So you do want good organic salts in your body, but just be careful of kind of overloading it. So pickling tends to be don't sit there and have a bunch of it, just have a little bit. So I like this recipe a lot. I do tend to make the garlic lemonade myself a lot. That usually does the trick, so I don't really need to go to this. But many people love fire cider, and they play around with different recipes. You'll see a lot of different versions. Lemon balm. Lemon balm goes right here. So I love Melissa. Melissa officinalis is a very good plant, underutilized. Use the aerial part of the plant. The leaf is rich in essential oils, a lot of good volatile oils there. Calms the nervous and the digestive system. So anytime we talk about the nervous system, this is very good, very tonic, very good tonic. Antispasmodic actions. So that's interesting, right? So nervous system, antispasmodic, possibly for epilepsy or somebody who might have seizures, helpful for insomnia, specifically for grief and sadness. So if you know somebody who had a loved one pass, then some lemon balm tea would be a nice gift for them, or make it for them. I've had a lot of losses in the last 12 months of my life, either myself or family, and I keep making lemon balm tea, and I'll take it to people made, because that way they don't have to do anything in there. It makes them feel good. It's a nice thing. Heartache and depression, calms restless children, so now you notice ADD and ADHD there. Now, lemon balm is not going to be the only thing you do here for that. So ADD, ADHD, it's a very big situation where I talk a lot about food and what are they eating. A lot of times just getting rid of that processed sugar, white flour, getting rid of gluten can have some really good success in that area. Strong antiviral action, effective for herpes and shingles. Really nice plant. A lot of people forget how to use that or don't know. For shingles, you would definitely want to take it internally, as a tea. Even a really strong tea would be very good, and for a long period of time, because you know that sometimes the symptoms start going away, and it's not really away, it comes right back. The shingles you need to stay on top of so that you don't have it for a year or 2 or 3. I have heard up to 3 years, and that's a long time to suffer, and for it to go into this dormant stage and come back. So be careful with shingles and try to stay on top of it. Be treating it, like even when you think that it might be away, treat it for a little bit longer. Colic remedy, very safe for young ones. Lemon balm, leaf, chamomile, and dill seed. That's really nice. Lemon balm bath. So you've got lemon balm, chamomile, lavender, and rose petal. And you can just tie it up in a little piece of cheesecloth and float it in the tub, I, get these little muslin bags, so that's what that looks like. That floats in the tub, but you don't need to do anything fancy. Just put it in there. I like to put it in something, though, so you don't have all these pieces all and you have a mess to clean up after that relaxing bath, which is annoying, right? You're ready for bed, and you just want to go to bed. You don't want to clean your tub. So the other thing that's kind of nice, if if it's in some kind of a bag, you actually just use it as a little sponge and even scrub it into the bottom of your feet where all the nerve endings are. Just let your body get that good herb in through your skin. Now, peppermint, most people are familiar as a digestive aid, right? We're going to use the leaf and the flower, or one or the other. It's also antispasmodic though, so it helps your muscles relax, reduces stomach cramps and spasms, a great disinfectant for the bathroom. Reduces pain for headaches, burns, bee stings. Some of these might be surprising for you, and toothache. Another herb.
Oh,
Yes,
excellent.
I love it. Poultices are great. I mean, they use this like the American Indians and thousands of years, you know. So what if it has a little bit of, That is in my opinion, the best remedy for ants and spiders. So some people will put a little bit of peppermint. I would highly recommend the essential oil, because that way you could just put a drop on a cotton ball and leave it where, like the entrance of where things are coming in, the ants.
What about mosquitoes?
I don't know about for mosquitoes. So far I've just heard spiders and ants. So catnip works really well. Again, we tend to, for insects in general, if you've used any natural insect repellents, my success has been with using essential oils, because it just does need to be very powerful and potent. I've not had any luck really by making infusions or decoctions of herbs. Has anyone else had any luck with that? It just ends up not being great. Whereas if you use essential oils in with some kind of carrier oil or medium, then that I've had very good luck with. I sell something called Adios Mosquitoes, so I've got something and I use catnip essential oil is one of them, but there's about 5 different oils in there. So I like it. I know, right? Catnip, who would have thought, right? Catnip oil is pretty expensive. I wish the price would come down on that. But it takes a lot of catnip to make the oil. So here's a couple recipes for burns and peppermint tea, and then as a digestive aid. Isn't that beautiful? Drink more herbal teas. Drink your herbs. I work with a lot of women, either they're perimenopausal, menopausal, and they're dealing with hot flashes for a long time. And the peppermint is their biggest savior for, as soon as they feel them going, themselves going into it, and they'll help them make up a peppermint spray. With that one, I always use essential oils as well. However, if you drink peppermint tea throughout the day, that can help too, very cooling. It's also just generally cooling in the summer. If you're just a hot person in general, having peppermint tea is nice. Sage tea is also very good to have regularly if you're perimenopausal or menopausal. Reduce the symptoms a bit. We don't want symptoms to go away. This is your body's way of going through a change. We want to recognize that. But we don't want to be hurting or really sweating or having night sweats where people are telling me they're changing their clothes 3 times a night because this is how bad the night sweats are. We want to try to get things a little bit better. Parsley. So we won't spend too much time on this. We use the leaf and the stem. You could do the ice cubes for that one. It's kind of nice. But it dries very well too. If you have any kidney issue whatsoever, start eating and drinking your parsley. Parsley is so good. Very, very good to help with your kidneys. Now, we'll assist in passing stones, but you really need a little more help. I have a concoction I use. Some people use hydrangea. I use gravel root. I don't know if you're familiar with any of those. With marshmallow roots, I have herbs I put together synergistically for a reason. The gravel root will break up the stone, the marshmallow, and parsley helps you continue that urination and diuretic action, and the marshmallow root just helps ease the acid of it. So it's important to have a few things there. But just generally to help kidney health, parsley is great. So you want, it is a diuretic, meaning it's continuing that good flow of urine. This is the bladder as well. And then helps dry up mother's milk when they're ready for the weaning process. If they're not ready for that process, don't have them have a lot of parsley. And then a poultice for sinusitis. So many women do have that. As soon as they start breastfeeding or some part of that journey, they do get infected. So having parsley topically as a poultice. Very good for that. Very painful for them. So rosemary. So rosemary I always like to use for cooking. I love it on so many things. Use the leaf or an essential oil. It's a huge brain tonic. Has everyone heard it helps with memory? Mm-hmm. Okay. So very, very good for memory. But particularly concentration too. So a lot of students will use this if they're studying. If you're working on any kind of degree or you need to study for a test, rosemary is really good. And often people even just take a sprig of rosemary into their test with them. I've heard of that, while they're taking the test. Maybe it's a good luck charm too, But why not? Enhances cellular uptake of oxygen, so that's fantastic. Mild uplifting stimulant. Eases headaches and migraines, so that's a good one to try out if the peppermint's not working or some of these other. Cayenne is really good. I actually, anytime I get a headache, I use a little bit of my cayenne extract, put it in water, drink it down, and I'm telling you in 2 minutes, that's how quickly it's circulating, right? Remember that, circulating, stimulating. So rosemary has a similar action like that. Relieves moderate depression. And then cardiovascular system, so it's very good for that, arthritis and joint damage. A lot of different uses here, so keep up the rosemary. But I had to put food pictures up here because I use that food a lot. You probably do as well, chicken and meat and all of that. Thyme, the leaf and the flowers. This is another one I cook with a lot, but let's see what it does medicinally. Powerful and effective disinfectant, externally as a wash and internally to help off infection. So a lot of times you'll make a tea, but you'll actually use this as a wash instead. Treating the sore throat and oral infections. So this is good for a gargle. You're going to make a strong tea and then use it to gargle. Really good. I make a thyme syrup and I swear it's the best thing for coughs. I love it. And it does. During the season, I can't keep up with it. I'm sold out again, so I need to make that tomorrow. But the thyme syrup is simple. You just really make a very, very strong tea. You have it cooking and reducing by half. I probably cook mine about 3 to 4 hours, really. And then once it's reduced, I strain it off and add some honey. That's it. And that makes a syrup. But the thyme is so good for that, for the cough and upper respiratory, chest complaints. It's also antifungal, so that's another reason it might be used as a wash externally. So the question was, how long can you keep teas? Honestly, in your refrigerator, a couple weeks is fine. Yeah, so you'll be fine with that. So I do, and once you like a certain herbal concoction, or maybe you're working on something for that month, sometimes I'll say to people if they've got many things they want to work on, let's decide on one thing right now. And so that herbal tea, they'll make in quantities and put it in the refrigerator. And especially today was a beautiful day. I didn't want my tea that I made today hot, so I iced it. So we've got some really nice options. We can instead put twice the amount of herbs. So instead of 1 heaping teaspoon of herb, you put 2, and then you pour it over an equal amount of ice. So you get a nice iced tea. Put a little orange peel on there. Right. A positive effect on the glandular system as a whole, so that's great for the endocrine system. A lot of women, particularly, having major hormonal issues, which is all rolled up into the endocrine system. So it's trying to figure out what is the actual problem, because they all, if you have adrenal fatigue, for example, well, maybe your cortisol levels are really high as well, and this goes into this, which goes into this, and the thyroid, So we gotta take care of the glands. Like syrup, it's just the time. The syrup takes takes a lot of time. That's really all it is, but it's really simple. Water, time, and it's honey. 3 ingredients, and do you really even count water, right?
How much honey do you put in?
I actually do equal amounts because I want it to last longer. So the key for a syrup to last longer for my store is to have a higher sugar content. But you can do at home, just do it to taste. You don't want as much raw honey. Definitely use raw honey because that's also very good for your immune system. You don't want to use any of the things in the store that are high heat processed that comes in a little bear. Yeah. It's just there's no value. Just don't get that anymore.
If you don't use honey, the option for
Maple syrup grade B. Thank you for asking. So pure grade maple syrup, and it's a grade B, is a very good option. There's so many benefits to honey. Oh, really, really good. Just 2 years old and up though. Pediatricians do not recommend it for under 2.
When did that
System isn't. Quite a while ago. My daughter's now 12, and I know, they've been recommending it for that long for sure. I don't know.
What was the reason
answer
behind that?
Their systems aren't built up yet for that raw honey because there's so much in there from the bees. And will they have an allergic reaction or not?
Because I gave it to my son.
Could be histamine. Absolutely an individual choice. So if you don't worry about it at all, or maybe you try just a little bit,
Well,
I mean, what did they do way
think
back
about
when?
it.
They would try a little bit of something and see if you had a reaction, right? But
Yeah.
I would recommend, as an herbalist, I just kind of say 2 years and older, and then you can make your decision. And I think in general, we're in an age right now, we are making our own decisions. That is absolutely what's happening, and I love that, because long gone are the days if you go to the doctor and you're doing exactly what they told you. There are some people still doing that, but we're the expert of our own body, and we're going to consult with our herbalist, our chiropractor, our nutritionist, or doctor, and then we collect all this information along with the internet, and we make our own decision, and I think that's wonderful. That's what it should be. Turmeric, it's wonderful. It's like one of the best anti-inflammatories along with frankincense. They're like the top 2. So we put this in your diet every day because we have a lot of inflammation in our body. Every one of us does. Unless you're eating perfectly, drinking as much water as you're supposed to do every day. Otherwise, we all have inflammation. So that leads to all of these health concerns, because every health concern is revolving around inflammation. So we want to control that. And many cultures, this has been part of their food for thousands of years. They had this already incorporated, so I think we need to incorporate it more as well. So we've got, this is a remedy for jaundice and any kind of liver issue. Liver is what needs to clean. It processes, our food processes through twice through the liver. We need to make sure our liver is functioning properly. Treats chest, ulcers, and coughs as well. Obviously, it's very much known as anti-inflammatory, but some of these other benefits you may never have heard of. Effective for arthritis. This is how you make it. I would definitely recommend you try this because it's a 2-stage process. You make up the turmeric paste and you leave it in your refrigerator, and then as you're going to have it daily, you just take out a little bit to make 1 serving. It's half to 1 teaspoon of turmeric paste to your taste, and then you add whatever the almond oil, and then whatever milk you like to drink. A lot of people like milk, almond milk. If you drink cow's milk, goat's milk, whatever you want to use, and you put it in the blender and sweeten it with honey and drink that daily. Now, I know a lot of people like to drink this at night because they say it kind of lulls them into a nice sleep.
How to make a turmeric paste?
What's that?
Turmeric paste, how do you make that?
So the way you make that is the turmeric paste. You combine the turmeric with a half a cup of water in a saucepan, ready to boil. Simmer it for a little bit until it's a thick paste. So that part's going to take a little bit longer, but once it's made, you just keep it in the fridge. The rest is easy. So it is a 2-step process. You make the paste first in a larger batch. I would really make this and try this because why do you want to spend money on those capsules? We grow it here. So these are some of the sources I used for today's presentation. You're welcome to come up and look through these. These are my books. Just kind of look through, see what you think of them, because you may want to purchase Now, you can go on Amazon, of course, but I did want to kind of give a plug to Willow Lamont without her even knowing I'm doing this, because those of you know Willow, she's at the Saturday morning market. She sells a lot of books, and what a great way to help someone that we know locally, right? She's given back to the community as a folk herbalist for years. So she's down there every Saturday. She always has this one. This was her mentor. She's now passed. And then she always has
the DVD too.
Yes, the DVD is great. She has multiple Rosemary Gladstar books there. So these two for sure. I don't know if she's carrying these yet. These are pretty new. Christopher Hobbs, I had the pleasure to hear him speak a couple of times at the American Herbalist Guild, and he had come out with this book in 2013, so it's pretty new still. And this one as well, I think it's 2013. Do you have this one, Bill? So this is Peggy Lance. Very good book.
Just printed it.
So Diane was looking, she was like, I didn't know she came out with that yet.
Precursor to that.
So definitely flip through these. I really like this one a lot. I like all these a lot. And then, you know, that way you know what you might want to add to your library, and I think that's going to be pretty affordable. Any questions?
Curious if there's any good herbs for periodontal gingivitis, rinsing your mouth out, using a root, irrigator.
My favorite thing is actually using coconut oil for oil pulling, but using some myrrh. Yes, because I've seen the changes.
Studies I've read.
So using myrrh essential oil with it, MYRRH, with the oil pulling. Sometimes people like to add a couple other oils too. Dr. Christopher has a tooth powder. It's used as a toothpaste, and it has white oak bark, and that is a popular herb for just oral, just in anything in general. But I find when there's actually issues that the myrrh essential oil combined with the extra virgin coconut oil, then that is good. I don't like using the coconut oil by itself for oil pulling. I just don't feel like it's the hype that's out there.
The study is, the saliva, squishing water and coconut came out the same. So it didn't seem to work either. What about oregano oil?
Oregano oil is really good for cold and flu. Just be careful, oregano oil is a hot oil, so you always need to dilute it, but you can definitely, I only recommend doTERRA for ingesting. Their bottles, the FDA actually allows doTERRA to put a supplemental fact panel on the back. So make sure if you go to the store and it doesn't say internal, then don't do it internal. And again, this is the only brand I recommend for internal anyway. But oregano oil externally with any other brand, what I do with oregano oil is you use a carrier oil, and I have an herbal carrier oil, but you can use like olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. Put 1 drop of oregano oil, depending on what brand it is, it can be quite potent, and rub your hands together, and you can rub your, if you have a sore throat, rub your neck and even like the V right here externally. And often you'll go to bed and that sore throat will be gone the next day. It's very powerful oregano oil, and I like it a lot for cold and flu. Now you wouldn't want to, because it's so potent in the chemical constituents with oregano oil, that's the only one I say to only use about 10 days straight, because it starts to get too much and you need to back off of it. So you wouldn't use that consistently. That's how powerful that is.
Is an essential oil for the remedy
White fir has capability for building cartilage and bone, and you use it daily. I like to do another combination as well. Comfrey is very, very good. It's a Western herb. I love comfrey, and I mix it with other things. It is a self-proliferant, and comfrey is illegal as far as using internally, according to the FDA. So, do I have comfrey infusion every now and then? Yes, because I think it's really good. So that's something I've chosen. Comfrey, the reason that the FDA is now illegal internally, only allowed topically, is because the chemical constituent in it can be a little difficult on the liver when using high doses internally. So there's scientific studies out there of high dose comfrey and really having damage on the liver. So we know how to read those studies, right? You got to be careful because they do these tests and it's like, well, I'm not going to have pounds of comfrey, in a day. But just so you know what the reasoning is, it is a valid reason in high doses for sure. But,
So the comfrey oil is carrier oil and not from the essential oil?
no, the comfrey actually is that's not an essential oil, so that's a Western herb. And for that, you can use topically and make it into a salve. Like I have to make a salve. I also made it into oil. So say if you get dry comfrey leaves or roots or both, you can make your own oil. And there's a lot of really cool medicine-making ways to do things by the moon and the sun and all that. So you can actually put it in a quart-sized mason jar and fill up halfway with the material. This is just a simple way, whether it's root or leaf. And then pour the extra virgin olive oil all the way to the top of the jar. And you go out and you shake it every day and leave it in the sun. And 2 weeks later, you'll have a beautiful herbal oil that you can use for massage oil topically. So that's really nice. But comfrey I really like as far as essential oil. I like white fir, but I'd probably throw a couple others in there too. And then that would be diluted with the carrier oil.
Didn't you say anything about verbena?
I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm sorry. Anyone else can talk about lemon verbena?
Regular oil, sorry, background for this one. When applied in the arching foot, is also good for mental impairments.
Ah.
Distinct from personal studies.
Well, oregano, it is antiviral and antibacterial. So if you think of, sometimes if you just learn the medicinal action, then all of a sudden you really could get this down. If you know 10 or 20 herbs, and you know the medicinal action for each one of them, you have your medicine cabinet. Because then all of a sudden you're like, say if it's even like melaleuca or tea tree oil, well that's antifungal, okay. You start plugging these in. But oregano is a couple of things. It's antiviral and antibacterial, and that's why it's so good for, you don't even know what it is. It's either a bacterial infection or viral, but you're going to treat it with oregano oil. Regardless. Raw honey. Oh, okay. So what I have, I actually have, I'm trying to think if there's honey in there. A lot of people like my healing and cooling lip balm. Let me see the ingredients. I've got peppermint in there, but it does have a little bit of honey. That ends up being, try maybe some neem oil or shea butter. And that's it. Use that. Just try one of those and see. Maybe you're overly sensitive to honey. That's when you should back up and just use one pure ingredient. Try that. They're very emollients. Well, that's the problem. Once you're in a histamine state, then you all of a sudden it seems like you're allergic to other things that you never normally are because your system's very heightened. So right now, allergies are awful, and many people who have them really bad, well, they're prone to virus infections. So all of a sudden now they got a cold and the flu on top of it. So that's a problem.
You just mentioned allergies. I know that your friend who is allergic to cats.
I get people coming to me on the animals a lot because of course they're not going to give up their animal, so that's very, they want to keep their animal. It's tough. With allergies, I tend to go to the essential oils that I have been diffusing in their home, peppermint, lemon, and lavender, all three of those together, and sometimes some frankincense too, in order for them to keep their animals with them in their home. I have them also use topical with that. Internally, nettle is a great Western herb that can make infusion and continue to drink that daily while they're having problems. I like nettle a lot. Nettle grows here. What's the season on that?
Well, I have it in a gray water system. It seems to go grows in the same kind of conditions as comfrey. They're both marginal here. We're pretty far south, but in shade or in very moist soil.
And I know Willow said with her comfrey, she has the best luck with some oak leaves. She piles oak leaves all over the comfrey and it seems to grow the best. So we can get that. I killed my comfrey. I can't grow it apparently. I'm going to try again. But my nettle was growing very well.
I had some years ago a lot of pots of comfrey that I had divided up from somebody gave me a big group and spread it all over my backyard, especially near fruit trees and stuff. But only a few of them survived, and it's because the conditions they need are pretty specific at this latitude. It needs to be somewhat shady and somewhat moist. But in my rainwater system, which in the summertime is exposed to the sun all the time, it grows okay. It doesn't get really big up north.
Yeah.
It stays alive.
But yeah, any kind of allergy, seasonal right now, nettle is one of the best herbs that people can continue to drink daily to get through this. Mountain Rose Herbs is a great place to get bulk herbs from. Star West Botanicals, Frontier Co-op. If you wanted smaller quantities, if you're just looking for an ounce to 4 ounces or something like that, just contact me because I'll sell you a by the ounce or 2 ounce or 3 ounce. I've got a lot of herbs and most of mine are from Mountain Rose Herbs.
I'm sorry, what was that other name?
Star West Botanicals and then Frontier Co-op. So I don't know if any of you have other ones that you like to use. Diane, do you have any place do you purchase any dried at all?
Yeah, from Rose.
From where?
Rose Lady.
Oh, okay. She does her own. Okay. So I don't know if you want to say that name
She's
again.
up in Westwood.
Yeah, so she's local. And how many? She probably has a pretty good variety then.
She's a whole guy, and she uses a lot of
Okay. So she's more bioregional. So that's great. So that's a very good source for the ones that are here. And she's local. So you're supporting local.
What was her name? Rose Galatian.
It's Cayenne.
And are you local? Do you have a shop?
I'm in St. Petersburg. I work out of my home. So basically I have consultations in my home and I have my, in the front, as soon as you walk in, I have these shelves that I've set up like a little storefront there. And so anytime you want to come in, just let me know and browse. You can also take a good look on my website because I have probably about 85% of my product is on the website as well, except for the herbs in bulk, you know. So if you wanted a little bit of comfrey root to play around with. Great American is available too. I just don't know where they purchase from, honestly. Not sure. Do you know where Great American?
This is better, it's not as good as before.
Yeah, I don't really go there at all.
Yeah, 15, 20 years ago, but now
Pricey too.
they make so many things now.
I don't. You just try to find out where they get their stuff because you want to make sure everything I get is organic. So that's why I know with Mountain Rose Herbs, all of my herbs, everything I get is organic. And I like their practices, and they have strict requirements for their wildcrafters to make sure that they're harvesting the areas far away from farms that are
I'm sorry, I was trying to, can you redo the list of ingredients for a cow? I have cat and I think
So you would use the essential oils, but it's lemon, lavender, and peppermint. Sometimes you have to add some frankincense in there too, though, and that's a little bit pricier on an essential oil. So that would be like diffused aromatically, and then also you can use it topically. On the bottom of the brainstem area, there's certain places you can put it. Internally, I would get an herb called nettle, Nettle, and I would make a quart every day of a tea and drink that.
Stinging nettle.
Yeah, stinging nettle. Now, if you're growing it and harvesting it, you can ask Bill about that. You gotta wear gloves. Be careful. Ironically, where it grows naturally, you often find plantain, which is the cure for it, next to it. So wildly, that's, it's amazing how things, sometimes the plant is grown here, and then next to it is something that actually will cure whatever that, So the nettle is a good example of that. It definitely can get you. Mine has got me a couple times thinking, I'm just going to go out and get a couple pieces.
Yeah.
Boom. So then you put some,
All it takes is one.
plantain, or I have a salad that has plantain or calendula or something like that. To immediately get relief. So I was out in my yard today, so it's